I'm Kate A. Hardy, and this is Tales from the Vestry, readings from my novels and short stories. Today, Dog. Part 1. Dog. A small spacecraft appears unnoticed in Epping Forest. How exactly am I supposed to bury a spaceship without so much as a spoon? They said I would land somewhere safe. I said spaceship, more a small sleek pod, just enough space for one human to be. A human who is now rattling with cold. Is that a good description? The language insertion is operating wildly now. I feel like a dictionary. Anyway, enough standing under these dripping leaves. Shelter seems like a good idea. And, as I seem to have outgrown the pod, someone didn't do their calculations too well. That is not an option. And it smells. It can wait for its burial. This movableness I appear to have grown is quite effective with the splaying things at the end. Feet. Language information is feeding ever faster. Feet, cold, very cold, wet, miserable. Light is leaving the sky through the tree canopy. At the edge of the tree land, I see a construction made from slices of tree, fence, and beyond a building. I scramble over, drop to the other side, and find a small house made of more tree with a door which is slightly open. I go in. The temperature feels fractionally warmer than outside. There are primitive things made of metal and wood, containers holding small trees, and a heap of scratchy material. I crawl into the pile, assimilate what I've already seen and thought, and shut down. Woman. I leave shut down to find all my new extremities taut with cold. The door to the dwelling is fully open, and something, human, is staring at me with an open mouth and almost round eyes. An emotion of uncomfortableness, I imagine. Sitting up, my head meets with something it shouldn't. A new sensation flickers, and I search for a word that will soothe. Damnation! The person has stopped the round-eyed expression and has adopted one of suspicion. Who are you, and why are you here? I try out a hovering sentence. Actually, I don't know to both questions. I stand up and the scratchy cloth fall to the floor. The person's expression changes again. He or she is staring at the top of my legs. Looking down, I see a sort of soft tube. I jump back, brushing at the thing, but it appears to be attached. I look up abruptly and hit my head again. Fluid seems to be seeping. I put a hand up and feel warmth, stickiness, blood. The woman I now see her to be is shedding a layer. She passes it to me. I think you'd better come into the house. That might need looking at. After sinking my upper arms into the garment, I follow her up a path and into a warm interior. The cold leaf smell and smaller dwelling odour have been replaced by something appealing. A new sensation joins the others. Hunger. I sit on a chair and watch her bring things to the table. There are disturbing gaps in my word knowledge. I now harbour a catalogue of all periodic table elements and could tell you anything about the molecular structure of cabbage, but I don't know what it was I spent the night in. The construction where I was in shutdown, asleep, what is its name? She looks slightly amused. The shed! Well, not actually my shed, my aunt's. I've been house-sitting for her. She dips a cloth into a bowl of water, delicately wipes around my wound and repeats the action. The water has become pink. She makes concerned noises as she investigates further. Can't see enough, you do have a lot of hair. Bloody power cut, might as well be night, it's so dark today. That's why I was in the shed trying to find candles. Power cut? Third one this week. I'll be glad to get back to civilization. Where is civilization? Even in the half-light, I see her smile. Did you bang your head before banging it in the shed? As I'm about to answer, the room is filled with light. Clicks and beeps resound, and my discoverer steps back. Good grief! Sorry? I mean, wow! Her eyes have taken on the round shape again. What about me? I ask. Before the pod. I think in order to make sense of this for any future reader, I will go back to the point where I had arrived, late as usual, for the general Galaxy Issues meeting. I had drifted into the main room and had glanced unenthusiastically at the Oid, on which, suspended in blackness, was the subject of heated discussion, a blotchy bluish planet. Feeling delicate after one too many enhancement attachments the evening before, I had opted for a comfortable oval shape, incorporating one extendable limb with which to gesticulate and jot a few things down if my memory bank failed me. The throbbing cube chairing the meeting had voiced its indignation over the fact that I was late again. The exact translation is impossible, but here is a rough Earth-speak attempt. Nice of you to join us up. Sorry, the traffic was awful. It had spun back towards the screen and shot out an icy-looking tentacle that jabbed at the planet in question. As I was saying, this particular oxysphere is becoming increasingly unstable. The other one in Sector Beza is fine. Same climatic conditions, same flora, fauna, more or less. The semi-melted Falp, seated next to him, sucked back her escaping folds, became solid and addressed him. More or less? Well, it's this man thing. Is it airborne or water life? Neither, although it does make a dalliance into both elements and has managed to mess them up too. So it lives on the landscape with the other fauna? The cube hesitated and turned towards a delicate spiral of particles. Her voice, unbearably sweet, zinged around the walls. Not so much lives with, more lords it over, if you like. The balance was fairly agreeable some meta years back. Small groups of them living with the other species. There was a certain amount of eating of other beasts, but I think you could say that was all part of the food chain you might find on such an orb. The resonant tones of a minor black hole glowering next to the cube broke the conversation. Do we really have to worry about this? I mean, on a scale of things, it's hardly a problem, is it? The cube responded. Well, normally, perhaps not, but if the new weapon we have detected becomes overused, they've done a few pot shots here and there over the years, there is a danger of planetary discourse. The whole groaned. Can't we just annihilate the man thing? The Falp bristled. As a selection of the highest intelligence in the galaxy, no, we cannot just annihilate them. They must be studied at close proximity so we can find a solution. We need to send a member to insinuate themselves and gather information. A silence followed, while their collective vision elements gathered upon my ovalesque person. Kitchen. Jumping back from these recollections, I look at the woman. She has said something and I missed it. Sorry, I was frightfully long way away, literally. She gazes at my face with an expression I cannot interpret. I said, would you like a cup of tea? I don't know. Is it good? She laughs. You must have come from outer space. How can you not know about tea? I try the muscles in my face and produce what I think is a smile. She pulls her breath in at this and then lets it out slowly, smiling herself. I'll put the kettle on then. While she fills the aforementioned object with water and puts it on a primitive flamed heater, I look about me. So this is a kitchen from the 2010s? She turns from spooning black dust into a pot. The skin above her eyes is pleated. No, furrowed. I think it's about time you told me where you came from. A well-timed word drifts into my head. Do you have something called amnesia here? You mean in Britain or in the world generally? Oh, either or both, I think. Yeah, we do. Why? Do you think that's what might have happened to you? Well, quite possibly, although I can't remember anything, so I don't know. She puts 2 vessels down on the table. Don't suppose you know if you take sugar? My head twists a little, side to side. Subconscious communication actions are beginning to operate. Do you take sugar? I ask. She does the same. No, I think it's better without, and have a Jaffa cake. Dog. I'm about to experience an Earth mode of transport, and I'm feeling anxious about the pod and the fact I haven't buried it. We drank quite a lot of tea, which I did like, and then the woman, Ruby, announced she was going to have to go back to something called London. She has found me clothing from her aunt's dead mate, and I am now standing at the kitchen door, covered in reconstituted animal hair and cotton, none of which fits too well, myself being, as she has pointed out, very tall. Ruby appears distracted. I wonder if I can help. I could stay here if I could be of assistance. She stops wiping a wooden surface and peers at me. What, my aunt returning this afternoon to find her have left her a 6'9" pale orange afro-haired man with no memory? I don't think that would help. You could walk Dog, though. Dog? Yeah, not the most inspiring name. He's quite harmless, though. I stare back at her. Your aunt lives with the deity that many humans worship? A series of loud, abrasive sounds partly obliterate my question. Ruby turns toward the noise. Here he is. Dog. Meet. Look, we really do have to find you a name. Jez? Just for now? That would be agreeable, I say, bending down to touch Dog. It shrinks back, teeth showing, a low rumbling coming from somewhere inside. I'd imagine this mystical figure to be larger, more impressive to look at. Ruby is handing me something. Here, take the lead. He doesn't look too happy about you, and watch him if he sees other dogs. There are others? Sometimes. Just keep the lead tight. See you back here in 15 minutes? I walk back down the squishy pathway and this time pass through the indicated gate. How long is 15 minutes? My new brain still seems to have gaps, like this dog deity business. He is pulling me along, stopping to inhale every now and then, lifting a white, hairy leg to shoot forth a jet of streaming water. Something lowish down in my body informs me I should be doing the same. I tie Dog to a tree, fumble in my lower clothing, get the tube out, and yes, a similar stream. It feels good. As I put the tube back, a twink of light from within the surrounding bushes reminds me of the pod's landing place. I leave Dog and investigate. The pod is as was, semi-covered in leaves. Heaving open the hatch, I collect the information condensing block and communication sphere, put them in a pocket and reclose the hatch. I must have been space numb to have left these items. I break dead wood, lay branches over the pod and scuff as much debris onto it as possible. Dog is shouting again. 15 minutes must have passed by now. Car. We are moving along something called the M11 with many other cars. When I say moving, I mean creeping forward at the speed of an exhausted parp slug. I look over at Ruby. Is this habitual for this mode of transportation? She laughs. Did you fall through some time warp through Jane Austen's day? I nearly tell her, but I can feel tension in this box. She is late for a gathering, no, a meeting. Maybe later when the sun goes, if I'm still with her. Where do you live in London? Highgate, in a top floor flat. It's small but has wonderful views. My new system tries out anxiety. It works. They hadn't actually specified what and how I would do anything, and the fact that I seem to look unlike anyone else doesn't allow for anonymity. I noticed, while gazing out at the passing landscape, my reflection, a cloud of white hair, and the eyes the colour of Illustrious Nine's principal water. Even in this traffic stagnation, people are staring at me. Ruby unexpectedly puts out a hand and takes mine. Hey, don't worry, I won't just dump you in the Archway Road and drive off. I feel water in my eyes. Are you all like this? I refer to being obliging. No, my dear Afro spaceman, we are not. I enter shutdown for a while, lulled by the gentle stop-start motion, then wake to find we are in an area of chaos, milling humans, dilapidated buildings and hundreds of vehicles. Oh, what happened? She looks at me with surprise. Nothing, we've just hit rush hour. Rush hour. The gaps in my knowledge bank are becoming infuriating. Then I remember an operating cube informing me that the fairly recent probe sent to Earth had malfunctioned, only returning scattered details. The probe sent before had functioned correctly, but its visitation had been in Earth's year of 1795. Speed learning the current mode of speech is obviously a priority. She moves the car around a corner and we are in a road of almost identical dwellings. Tall, made of yellowish oblong blocks, each with a wall and a smudge of plantage. Cars border the road. She stops at a space smaller than the car and somehow wedges it in. Here we are, home. View. Her personal dwelling space is, as she mentioned, small, but full of things that made me want to stay here forever. Things made by human hand and things that smell delicious, like this small cake she fabricated herself and I'm about to eat. We sit at a table and look out over grey, shining slate, skinny metal receivers of some sort, birds and rain clouds edged in golden light. The distant spikes of the tallest constructions remind me of satin reeds on the water span, one of the better memories of my earlier life. What are you thinking about, Jez? Ruby asks. I consider the amnesia idea. Just dwelling on the fact that memory indeed escapes me, I say, and bite into the cake. This is quite delectable. She looks at her wrist, where a small clock is tied. I have to go. Where will you go? To Covent Garden, meeting with Acock, Smythe and Persimmon. This sounds idyllic. Is it a grand garden? Something created by Capability Brown? She grimaces. God, no. And they, ASP, are an advertising agency. Look, I'll explain later. There's food in the fridge, books, TV, bath, computer. It's on. Bye. Sorry, must go. Back at about 4. I stare at the door as it closes and wonder at the feeling that is enveloping me. Warm, a sort of longing. Her face sits in my mind. So that was part 1, and I will read part 2 on our next video. Bye.